Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad and now on Instagram, Movies TV Mad X. If you have an addiction to TikTok, you can follow me on Mick Isn't Perfect. I think that's a great name for a TikTok account because guess what? Mick isn't perfect, but at least I admit I'm not perfect, unlike most of the people out there on social media today, the judgmental people who look down their noses at everyone. Wow, we've got some DC updates for you. DC update number one today is that it looks like the Lanterns show that James Gunn teased earlier this year, starring Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, has found a very, very iconic showrunner. Basically, it looks like the former showrunner of Criminal Minds, and I forgot his name, will be showrunning Lanterns. Wow, that's so exciting. It is. It's genuinely exciting. If you want to see a Lanterns TV show, that's a bit like True Detective. That's a bit gruff and depressing and, has that kind of aura around it. But I want to see a Lanterns TV show that celebrates the Green Lantern Corps, that celebrates Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. All I can think about is Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan basically sipping coffee and smoking joints in a car while they're staking people out and talking like this. And, yeah, we're going to get that robber here, that kind of thing. And despite me having a great deal of respect and love for the Criminal Minds showrunner and thinking, wow, James Gunn, that's a really good idea for a legal drama or a proper cop show. But why are we making these iconic lanterns cops? Well, he's already said that this kind of begins the DC Universe arc. This is where we're going to be seeing it growing and moving on to the next movie, the next streaming show, and probably the next game, wherever that is, because that's what DC Universe is going to be. James Gunn has already said that he doesn't want DC Universe content to feel like homework, but Lanterns to me feels like the worst type of homework. So even though having the Criminal Minds showrunner as the showrunner and the boss of Lanterns sounds like a good move, it also means that Lanterns is going to be nothing more, as James Gunn has already described it, as a Green Lantern Corps, True Detective. Basically, they're going to be on Earth. I don't think we'll ever see OR or anything like that. And where is the Green Lantern movie? I want a Green Lantern movie. You want a Green Lantern movie. What is this shit? This is what James Gunn said he's going to do. He's going to take the superhero genre and put it in interesting, different situations that you haven't seen before. That's all well and good. But is that going to work? Is that what you and me, the DC fans, want to see? Well, you don't have to ask for something for it to be good. I didn't ask for a billion things. I didn't ask for 24, I didn't ask for V, I didn't ask for Dallas, and I loved them. So just because you don't ask for something, it doesn't mean it's not going to be good. This may be the greatest Green Lantern depiction ever, even in terms of comics and live action. Well, the Lanterns haven't really had a good run of things live action, but we've had the great animated series that personally I really enjoyed as well. But kind of leaving this subject, and my final thoughts on it are red flags and concerns with a little dash of excitement. Happy about the Criminal Minds showrunner being involved, but that means we're going to have a dowdy, depressing cop drama instead of an epic, awesome tale of these iconic Green Lanterns. I want to see them together. I want to see OR. I want to be excited. This sounds like all it does is give us a procedural drama that moves this arc in DC Universe forward. And for me, that could be a problem. Let's see how that works out. Now, I have an update on you on the casting search for the DC Universe's Lex Luthor. Nothing is progressing right now, obviously, because of the SAG-AFTRA industrial action, which should be over in a couple of weeks' time, I'm hearing. They're progressing with talks. It's sounding very promising. Of course, we've been here a dozen times before. Get your shit together. Pay them what they think they deserve so we can look forward to some movies and television and DC content, because that's what we're all here for, right? So when the strikes are over, the real search for Lex Luthor begins. They are looking for an actor in his early 30s and quite butch as well, a big butch type of Lex Luthor from, like the one we had in Superman the animated series, and a bit like Kingpin in Daredevil. Well, here's an idea, James. Why not cast Kingpin himself from the Daredevil series, Vincent D'Onofrio? When he's bald, he looks exactly like the iconic comic book and, animated series Lex Luthor. He would be a great Lex Luthor, and he would really, really excite fans. You don't really need to be looking for someone else, but he's not. I don't think he's in his 30s. There's no way that guy's still in his 30s, so he's a bit older to be Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's always been older than Superman, but if he's going to be in his early 30s, he's not going to be that much older than David Corenswet as Clark and Superman. The age is going to be too close, so that's a bit weird for me. I would cast Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin from the Daredevil series. He would be perfect casting. But the news that's really excited me, and the conversation I want to have today, is about DC Elseworlds versus DCU, and which one of these formats can really work for DC movies going forward. Because we've had a Constantine 2 development update, and it's very, very exciting. Because basically, this film, Constantine 2, has been as on and off as me and my girlfriend have been through the years. It's all right, she's not here, she can't hear me. But 1 minute they're doing it, then they're not. Now, the director from the first film who's involved in developing the sequel has been talking. We know Keanu Reeves is desperate to do a Constantine sequel. And it's been on, and it's been off, and it's been on again. Well, it's on again. It is now in serious development. According to the director, this is absolutely happening, and they are doing it. This film will not be set straight after the first film, so they want Keanu Reeves to be, I think he's in his, late 50s maybe, he's 60, I don't know how old he is, but he's no spring chicken anymore. So he'll be of age, but he looks great in all the John Wick movies, in the latest John Wick movie. He doesn't look too old to play this character, so I'm on board. The first Constantine movie is fantastic. I never believed that Keanu was great casting for Constantine, but he did a good job with the character. I am really, really excited about this news. Other good news, the director says the original writer, obviously Keanu, are getting their heads together to develop this. And apart from Safran and Gunn being CEOs of DC Studios, apart from that, they will have nothing to do with the development of this movie. It's just the people who made the first movie, including Keanu Reeves. I don't want Gunn and Safran involved in Elseworld movies like the Batman cinematic universe. We'll get there, actually, because there's an update about that as well. Another exciting update, which leads me to talk about, DC Elseworlds versus DC Universe, and why DC Elseworlds is a much better idea. We'll get there. But Constantine 2, the Black Label universe from Todd Phillips, and the Batman cinematic universe are musts. WB know this. Do I think that James Gunn is happy that they're developing a Constantine sequel starring Keanu Reeves? Absolutely not. James Gunn is actually quite an honest dude. So when he's not happy about something, he won't talk about it. So he's not happy with James Wan because they've been arguing, they've fallen out over Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. He's going to not help promote that movie. And that's the end of it. That's why James Gunn didn't say anything about the trailer or anything on his social media. He will have nothing to do with the marketing of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And considering what a shite job you did, James, with the promotions of Shazam! Fury of the God, the Flash movie, and Blue Beetle, I think it's a good thing. And it holds Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in good stead that you're not getting involved with its marketing. Because despite what you think, and what Mr. Zaslav think, that you're a really good influencer and you influence people to watch stuff, that's not true, or those previous DCEU movies wouldn't have flopped. That's the evidence that maybe you're not the guy that Zaslav thinks you are. Yes, you're a very talented writer-director. I've said it many times, I love your CBMs, but you're also problematic as well. We'll see what you do with DC Universe. So, yes, I thought Constantine 2 was dead. It is not dead. It's back in development. Maybe it never stopped being in development. Look, Keanu's been begging WB for years to do this sequel. This is really important to Keanu Reeves. And if he does a sequel and it does really well, obviously with the popularity of John Wick, WB are not as stupid as they look. I mean, they're stupid. They are the dumbest studio in Hollywood, but even they understand there's great potential in doing a Constantine sequel starring the guy who plays fucking John Wick, who's played John Wick in 4 movies directed by one of the best directors, one of the most unproblematic directors in Hollywood today. They worked with Chad Zelensky before because he tried to save Birds of Prey. I mean, even Superman couldn't have saved Birds of Prey. I mean, it was a shit show, it was extremist, full of propaganda. You couldn't save that shit. And if you're going to have an action comic book movie, best get a director that doesn't tick boxes, but that can actually direct action. So there's a lot of potential in developing a Constantine sequel starring Keanu Reeves. So at the moment, they're working on it. I'm very excited. Let's hope this actually happens. In DC Elseworld news, in further DC Elseworld news, we're hearing that Matt Reeves, the Batman Cinematic Universe, is developing a Scarecrow, either a Scarecrow movie or a streaming show. I'd rather it be a movie, and I'm sure that's what Matt Reeves would rather it be as well. Again, it's another further development and update that should excite every single fan. Because I've said this before, if you're asking me what has the potential to print more dollars out of DC Universe and DC Elseworlds, to me, it's DC Elseworlds. Because Constantine 2, starring Keanu Reeves, Todd Phillips, Joker Folie à Deux, Matt Reeves, the Batman 2, Matt Reeves, Penguin show. You can tell from what we've seen so far, what we're hearing so far, that this is an excuse to print money. Constantine 2 will make money. And Zaslav understands this. And the potential and future is there. Because I don't see a huge audience now, after they've become tired of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well, whatever state that's in. I just don't think people want to go and do homework with a cinematic universe. Homework is a good thing, a good kind of name that James Gunn came up with, but it's exactly what he's going to be giving audiences. Homework, even though he says that's the last thing he wants to do. He wants to focus on the films and and the TV streaming shows and their episodes. He wants them to be great. He doesn't want them to be homework. But I don't see how you avoid that. How you do a cinematic universe that isn't homework. But here's the truth. Prior to the first Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't homework. You want movies like the first Iron Man. You want movies like the first Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Movies like that, even to a lesser extent, the first Thor movie, and even the Incredible Hulk, which I really enjoyed. So you want stuff to be stuff. You don't want it to be homework. But I just think when I look at the DC Elseworlds projects in development, I mean, we're getting Joker Folie à Deux, we're getting the Batman 2, we're getting Penguin on Max, and we're getting an Arkham Asylum show as well. And now Scarecrow, who is one of the most popular villains in Batman's Rogues Gallery, getting a movie or a streaming show is very exciting. And when you look, and it's all about who's behind these things. Matt Reeves is behind the Batman Cinematic Universe. Todd Phillips is behind the Black Label Cinematic Universe. Say what you like about Avika. Is it Avika? Is it Akina? Is it Avika? What's his name? Goldsmith. Is it Akina? And anyway, I don't know his bloody name. He's the guy who wrote the first film, and I think he's involved with new Star Trek as well, which isn't going down well with Trekkie fans, of course. But he's writing the sequel. He wrote the first movie. He did a very good job with the first movie. Someone put in the comments, what's that writer's name? Because I can't pronounce it. I was drinking last night, I'm afraid, so yeah, pronunciations, I can't even pronounce pronunciations, so I'm never going to do anything with that geezer's name. Anyway, is it Avika? Is it Avika Goldsmith or Goldsman? Anyway, doesn't matter. He's writing this movie. But I just feel, as a medium, that DC Elseworlds has more of a chance to succeed than the DC Universe. Because at the end of the day, and I know that people who are excited about DCU, I'm excited for it's not like I'm not excited for DCU. It's not like I don't see its potential if Gunn can get this right. And I can see what he's attempting to do, especially with something like Lanterns. He's trying to take something that's one way and put it in another genre. And that can be interesting, but also it can be problematic as well. Because if putting Lanterns in a True Detective kind of genre, you dip it into darker oils, and it's not as fun, and it's not as interesting to the audience. But we'll see what they do with that show, and it could be interesting. At least he's attempting to do something different. But I think in life you shouldn't be different for different's sake. You should be different if you are different, right? I think embracing the material that exists already is a much better idea. That's just my opinion. But there's no issues. There's no soap opera saga when it comes to DC Elseworlds. There's no negative feelings towards, Matt Reeves, apart from a few crazy Snyderverse stans who hate him just because we didn't see the Batfleck movie. I'm angry about not seeing Ben Affleck's Batman movie. I'm still desperate to see it. And who knows, we'll finish off this video talking about selling Snyderverse to Netflix as well. But yes, I think the potential in DC Elseworlds is huge. I think Joker Folie à Deux will make a lot of money. I think the Batman 2 will make a lot of money. And I think Constantine 2 will make a lot of money. And you can make even more Constantine movies. You can do lots of things. The thing is with Constantine, because obviously Keanu isn't any spring chicken, he probably could do another couple of Constantine movies. But there's so many people and there's so many great characters in that Justice League Dark universe of Constantine that you can introduce them via this Constantine sequel as well. So there's a lot of potential. I just feel that DC Elseworlds is the way to go. I think that's the future. Now, I would love to live in a world where DCU is successful and DC Elseworlds is also successful. And maybe James Gunn can do that. Maybe he can make DCU, successful, and all these other wonderful creatives can make DC Elseworlds exciting as well. One thing's for sure, there's more potential and future, in DC as a medium and as a whole, rather than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is looking very old and very, very tired. DC and its ideas from James Gunn and what they're trying to do with DC Elseworlds just looks young and fresh and vibrant. And the MCU to me just looks ever so tired. So what does any of this mean about selling Snyderverse to Netflix? Well, I hit the nail on the head yesterday, even if I say so myself. Basically, I think that Zack Snyder has been working behind the scenes to try and do something with Netflix and DC and WB. It was no accident that he did the whole "I'm taking my kid to see Blue Beetle, representation matters." Yeah, Zack. If you're pushing a WB DC movie, you're not doing it because you believe representation matters. But, by the way, Zack does believe in representation. He's been representing, people of colour and women fantastically well in his movies for years. Let's be absolutely clear about that. So he does believe that. But there's something going on behind the scenes. I just saw this morning on my Netflix, coming soon, is Batman the Animated Series. Wow! I'll be watching the shit out of that. I've already got the original Justice League series on my Netflix as well now. So I was considering quitting Netflix because they're putting their prices up. But sod that, I'm keeping it. Well done, Netflix. We're going back to the good old days. Netflix is running the streaming universe now, and that's great. And studios have failed at it, which they were always going to do. So I believe the only way for Snyderverse to go to Netflix, and forget what James Gunn says about Zack not talking about it with him and no one saying anything, he hasn't spoken to Netflix. Well, James, you're not really. He's not a CEO, as you may think. He literally is just the showrunner of DCU. His authority doesn't go further than that. Yes, when you see the credits for Joker Folie à Deux, it will say executive producers or produced by James Gunn and Peter Safran. Probably executive producers rather than producers, because they've had nothing to do with any of those DC Elseworlds movies, including Joker Folie à Deux. So don't listen to James Gunn, what he says about selling Snyderverse to Netflix. He's just trying to wind you up because he knows Snyderverse fans detest him. That's why. So ignore him. You got to support Rebel Moon. I believe Rebel Moon can be one of the biggest hits for Netflix. No question about it. And it's up to you, the Snyder fans and people who love this shit, and everyone who loves Zack Snyder, and everyone who wants to see the continuation of the DC Snyderverse. If you want that, support the hell out of Rebel Moon. And it shouldn't be that painful, because I'm hearing this is one of the best sci-fi movies ever made. And that does not surprise me, because it's Zack Snyder. His DC stuff was outstanding. And Rebel Moon, I'm very, very excited. And I keep on forgetting that we're approaching November. So just next month, I think it's next month it's released, we get to see Rebel Moon. And I cannot wait. And what I love about things being on Netflix is I don't need to go and subscribe to IP Vanish or one of those. I don't have to try and change my DNS numbers. Netflix is available to me here in Cyprus, unlike every other American streaming service. Even the iPlayer I can't get over here. It's depressing, but with Netflix, you get everything and you don't have to do anything dodgy to get it, which is brilliant because I like an easy life. So over December, Christmas time, I'll be tucking into my turkey. It probably won't be a turkey. It'll probably be some crappy sandwich or fried eggs on toast, 9 mil, whatever it's going to be, depending where I'm going to be. But the point being, if you want to see Snyderverse on Netflix, and I think that's the option. I mean, the other option would be the thing we've been talking about in the past 24 minutes, which has been DC Elseworlds. But I just don't see him working directly with WB, and I don't blame him. Even Henry Cavill wasn't going to be working directly with WB, even if he returned as Superman, even though they own the Superman property. He was going to be directly working with The Rock and The Rock's representatives, who also represent Henry Cavill, or were representing Henry Cavill. I don't know who represents him now. I don't think Zack Snyder wants to work with them again, and I don't think it's a good idea that Zack Snyder works with WB again. But I think selling Snyderverse to Netflix is a thing that could happen. Because we're seeing it. We're seeing this new Batman animated series from Matt Reeves and J.J. Abrams, right, and Bruce Timm. That's gone to Amazon. We're seeing the Batman animated series, the Justice League animated series, all on Netflix. Before, everything was going to be exclusive on Max. But now these huge studios like Disney and WB have failed with the streaming market. They're going to sell off a lot of their goodies. And Disney is going to start doing that as well. Hopefully to Netflix too. Because I can see that WB and these other studios are desperate for money. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. They are on their knees because they destroyed their own empires by being stupid and ill-informed, and they didn't listen to their audience when they had the chance. But this is good for us because they're desperate for money. So if there's money in selling Snyderverse to Netflix, they'll do it. Because there's more money in selling Snyderverse to Netflix than having Snyder stuff on cinema. There's less pressure for Zack as well. He gets to make the movie he wants to make for Netflix. Netflix make the money because they will get subscribers. WB will get money from Netflix. Everyone's happy. That's why I think it's still a very viable proposition. And I don't think it's as unrealistic as some people believe it is. I believe this can happen. I believe we can make this happen. And the only way we can make this happen is by watching Rebel Moon again and again. But it's not just about viewing it. It's about buying these comics and watching the spin-offs and hashtagging Rebel Moon as from now, especially on was Twitter, is now X, right? If you're on there, if you're not on there, get an effing account. Because X, was Twitter, is the place to be. It's the only, for geeks, for everyone who wants to talk or wants to see what's going on. It's a shitter show now because of Musk owning it, but it's still a good place to be. If you want to interact with other fans, if you want the trends for Rebel Moon to get high, and if you want the studio, if you want Netflix, because Netflix have to be convinced. I'm sure Netflix are thinking, I'm sure Snyder's gone to Netflix and said, look at my fans, yeah? How about us doing it here? Doing DC here. Now, I don't know what kind of deal they could do. Now, some people say it's impossible to do this deal. They also said it was impossible to release the Snyder Cut, but it happened. Obviously, Justice League 2 and 3 have never been shot, so it's a different case in point, and I get that. Let me be absolutely clear. Nothing is impossible in this industry. Nothing is off the table in this industry. Because of my dad, I've told you before, I grew up around the entertainment industry in Hollywood and the UK. And I've seen things happen that never happened prior because there was money in it. If there's a deal to be made, this business will do that deal. It is not impossible to have DC content licensed over to Netflix and for it to be produced by Netflix and for WB just to take a bunch of money. As I say, everyone gets money here. It's guaranteed money. WB get money automatically from Netflix. They will get even more royalties if it's successful, right? Netflix will make money via sponsorships and subscribers. As I say, there's more money doing it this way than having Snyderverse, DC Snyderverse content in movie theatres. I think Zack Snyder was born to make stuff for movie theatres. But I spoke about this yesterday. This is the sad era we're in. Zack Snyder is making cinema in an uncinematic era. An era of streaming, physical media and digital media. It's very sad. But that's where we are. So someone like Zack Snyder would have been much more appreciated in the 70s, 80s, 90s and early noughties. More than he is now. Because people respect a little vegetable that grows out the ground coming next to your film and it being verified fresh and shit like that. This is where we are today. Personally, being a man from the 70s, I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. But anyway, we don't have to be bitter because I still think we can restore the Snyderverse via Netflix. Not definitely, but we should keep on fighting. But the best way to fight to restore the Snyderverse is to watch Rebel Moon. And as I say, watching Rebel Moon isn't a big deal. It's going to be an absolute pleasure.